Hey, this is Zack Knight with Be a Tactical Leader. And if you really want to learn how to level up your life, you should be listening to the Time to Shine Today podcast with my good friend, Scott Ferguson. Let's level up.
Time to Shine Today podcast Varsity Squad. This is Scott Ferguson. We're at episode 317 with the BATL, the BATL, which is an acronym for Be a Tactical Leader. My good friend, fellow veteran, Zack Knight. Fantastic human being. He's been through some crazy shitstorms. He's been through some craziness in life. He hates bullies. So me and him are kind of like brothers from another mother. And it's just so fun to sit down and pick up so many knowledge nuggets from Zack. And his demeanor seems really laid back, but when you really look at this guy, you can see the killer in him that's there that wants to help you level up. So if you got a digital note taker, break it out, or just a pen and pads, because I had about 3 pages of notes, which you'll see in my recap at the end. So without further ado, here's my good friend Zack Knight from Be a Tactical Leader. Let's level up. Time to Shine Today podcast Varsity Squad. This is Scott Ferguson, and I got myself a fellow veteran. Army guy, backpacker, but we'll let him on the show. Now, he's fantastic. Name's Zack Knight. He's got a company, Be a Tactical Leader, or we're going to call it BATL, BATL, Be a Tactical Leader. And in between his time away with the military, Zack has been able to build 6 businesses ranging from a security consulting firm, a domestic violence awareness nonprofit, an international dance competition. I'm not laughing at him. I'm just laughing as I'm kind of going over his accolades. And he and his business partner grew to over 150 countries in the first year of operation. Just fantastic. I'm so stoked. Todd Armstrong, a mutual good friend of mine and Zack's, made this introduction. I'm so glad that he did. And Zack, if you could, please come on and introduce yourself to Time to Shine Today podcast Varsity Squad. But first, what's your favorite color and why?
Ooh, you actually have it in your logo, my friend. It's orange.
Orange.
I love,
all right.
I love a good sunrise in the morning. My place here in Atlanta faces a sunrise, and I love it every morning.
You're my first interview with this logo, man. The last one was dull and stuff, and I had this guy do it, and he put these little sun things over the S, and I was like, awesome, man. I guess I have no idea.
It rings true for me, man. Dude, I love it.
I can't draw a stick figure, much less put anything together. So, Zack, let's get to the origins, man, of kind of where you came from and how you are grown into 150 different companies, a dance competition, stuff, security. Security I see fits with you perfectly. You know what I'm saying? He's a badass definitely. Dude. If you're watching, he's pretty well put together. He's my brother from another mother here. So let's get to the origins just a little bit.
Yeah, man. I was born and raised here in Atlanta. I grew up. I took the name of my stepfather, Knight. There's a big piece of that in my teen years that really intrinsically, he's the only father I've known. So it's one of those, I took his name in my teen years as one of those that I really hold true. So a lot of what I talk about is legacy building, but also the values of a Knight as a whole. I take it all very seriously. And kind of growing up, I had that mindset. I wanted to protect people. I was always the guy that beat up the bullies. And I like to pick on bullies when they were picking on other people. Thankfully, I'm blessed being a little bit bigger guy, so I could get away with that most of the time. But that really fed into my first real profession as a police officer here in Atlanta.
Oh, wow.
I did all the training. I trained a lot of police officers. I was on the SWAT team, kind of did all the quote unquote fun stuff in that world. And I actually did it backwards. I left that to join the military when I was 28. Went through officer school. I already had my degree, went through officer school, went through infantry school. My goal there was to expand my horizons, serve on a higher level, take some men into a combat zone and expand my leadership skills, capabilities, that real time. If you can say 2 words under gunfire and somebody listens to you, that's talk about influence, right?
Dude,
just be careful what you ask for, because that's what I got about a year and a half after I was in. I went over to Afghanistan, deployed with the Green Berets out of Florida, and really did some work for about a year over there, and got injured in the process, and had some businesses already rolling. But that's really the big piece. That's the background. That's where the security firm fits in. Is obviously the background in the security firm fits perfectly with SWAT and infantry and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I love that. You say that if you can communicate in a hard target situation, right? That's huge in life, period. right? I mean, it's like a lot of people deer in the headlights, but if you can perform in that hard target situation and be able, like you said, be able to communicate, even if it's 1 or 2 words, because everything, if you're watching, everything was hand signals and very little talking, obviously for obvious reasons. That's fantastic. You're a talented dude. So let's talk a little bit about your coaching that you have set up and how you're helping people a little bit a lot of it along this way.
Yeah, so it really feeds into all the above. I've taught everything I've ever done from, at one point I was a little league coach. As a police officer, I taught at the police academy, taught recruits. While I was with the police department, I actually went through the Dale Carnegie Academy here in Atlanta, went back and taught at Dale Carnegie. In the military, I taught. I mean, it's just been like I was a CrossFit instructor for a while. So like everything I've ever done, it's gone back into teaching. Somehow it's always like been that piece that I can't get rid of, if you will.
Right.
And with Be a Tactical Leader, all of it's about tactics. I'm fascinated by operations and business. My MBA is in small business operations. I'm fascinated about how pieces move. It's like a chessboard, right? How do we get ahead of the curve? And that's where the dance competition, we were able to scale it so quick. We actually started it during COVID, hit that 150 countries in the first 8 months. That's awesome. And a huge piece of that was like the structuring. And then the podcast started right before that. It really turned into, people started asking, hey, can you teach me how you launch a podcast? Can you teach me how you made it so efficient? Can you teach me this, this, and this? And for a long time I said, no, I don't know anything about media and marketing and digital anything. Like I didn't even have an Instagram until I had my first business. Like I'm not that guy. And enough people started asking. So it was kind of one of those signs. Everything else I've taught, everything else I've coached, and it turned back into, how do I teach business tactics? How do I teach people to take that first step? I'm really good at taking the big vision, chopping it down to one step at a time. And enough people started asking. So it's kind of moved into that space overall.
Dude, I think you'd be awesome coach. I know that you are. So what, in your opinion, then is what would make a great coach?
Ooh, honestly, it fits all into kind of the leadership model I've put together. In my mind, I wrote a paper or two that were submitted to Army publications about the lack of leadership in the military as a whole, how they teach the science, but not the art of leading.
Sure.
Here's your box, stay in that box. Don't do anything outside of that box. Cause if you do, and that's not what leadership's about. That's not what business and coaching's about. For me, it turns into, you have to be vulnerable with the people you're coaching. You have to maintain lines of communication back and forth. You have to be able to have that influence. And if you're not setting forth as a coach, hey, this is where I've struggled in the past, and having those real conversations with them, then you all of a sudden don't become relatable. If I say, yeah, I have 4 businesses in 150 countries and 2 others that are doing pretty well, all of a sudden that's not really relatable to a lot of entrepreneurs that I want to help. So if I tell them, hey, this is where I screwed up all along the way, and maintain that level of vulnerability. Trust me, brother, I have a lot of stories about where I screwed up.
Yeah. That's that experience that plays through in learning, man. And trust me, I'm 50 years old, and I still learn from that. Like, the adage of, the rearview mirror is smaller than the dashboard, because, you don't live there, but you learn from there. Right. And I love that you're humble enough to admit that, you had some misgivings and whatnot, but you use that to level up, and you're using the experience to level others up. That's beautiful. So when you're starting to maybe in a discovery session with someone you're about to coach, Zach, is there any secret sauce you could possibly share with us to maybe help them find their blind spot?
Man, I talk about blind spots a lot on my own show. I love that question, because blind spots, how do you see them? Right. Obviously they're blind spots. So helping people discover those. Honestly, I don't think there's a secret sauce attached to it. It's just if you're willing as a coach to point to that. Right. I'm the guy that, like, people hire me because they know I can be the jackass attached to it, and they know I'll be straight up and honest. Like, and I'll tell people, I'm like, if you don't like the hard truth, and I throw the Dale Carnegie stuff in there, and I do the schmoozing and the EQ aspect of stuff some, but at the end of the day, like, if you're not telling the truth to your people, and you're not discovering what their real pain points are, and say, hey, you're not telling me the truth on this, or you're not giving me your revenue numbers, you're not telling me how you're actually struggling, you want to fluff it to make it look pretty. It's the Instagram world, right? Everybody wants to see the pretty stuff. Nobody wants to see that. Nobody cares about what car you borrowed to lean against and take a photo on, right? So it turns into, like, calling it out. Just be like, hey, you're bullshitting me right now. What's the real truth behind your struggles?
Right. And I love that it's through the pain points that you're really just trying to bring up. And a good coach is really going to do that through empathy and listening with all the senses. And being in military and hard target situations like yourself, like you really pick out on those, you're alert to a lot more stuff. So that whoever you're coaching is one lucky mofo, you know what I'm saying? So like, is there any good question then, as you're starting to maybe make sure you're the right horse for the course, right? For this client, is there any good question that you wish they would ask you, but never do?
When I hired my last business coach, I actually still have him. One thing I asked him is actually two questions. Because at the end of the day, I think the coaching industry has kind of been bastardized since COVID. Like everybody's all of a sudden a coach. I'm a life coach. I'm a business coach. I'm a blah, blah, blah coach. I'm not teaching. I'm not coaching on anything I haven't done myself, which there's a lot of limiting belief attached to that. But also it's like, I have the proof in the pudding. For my business coach, I asked him two things. I'm like, hey, show me your numbers, show me your revenue, show me like you're actually not full of crap. And show me your blueprint that I can take a copy of it. Do you have that scarcity mindset to share with me, or are you going to see me as a competitor all of a sudden, or how are we going to work together in that relationship? I think that's a big one. Is the coach willing to open like the secret gate to all the information, the copy and paste piece of it, and then coach me to make it more battle oriented and not his orientation,
Dude, I love that. Cause like you said before, proof's in the freaking pudding, right? So, and it's like also their lineage that they come from. And I always say, are you being coached? You know what I'm saying? It's like, dude, a lot of coaches will go out there, like you just said, everybody's a freaking life coach. I mean, my coach had me rebrand myself as a lifestyle optimization artist, right? Like I'm a breakthrough coach. I only keep people for like 4 to 5 weeks. That's it. Because they're stuck. I get them through. And then, it's landed me speaking gigs and stuff like that with their companies and whatnot, which has helped out. But I love that you put it out there. So then, Zach, what do you think your strengths are?
Well, honestly, I want to piggyback off, the military terms. I want to piggyback off of something you said. You only keep people for a short time. My goal, and a lot of the work I do is more of the fractional COO work. So I help you build, structure something, then hand it off. I think my strength is, let's take the couple first steps to get you moving toward your vision. You start seeing the successes, and I set you up to succeed beyond it. I don't want to keep you for 5 years. If you haven't left me in the first year, then I did something wrong as a coach.
Thank you.
It's hard to say that sometimes because they're like, oh yeah, but you're always recruiting and prospecting. Yeah, absolutely I am, because I want the next big thing, not the thing that I should have already launched.
Right. Yeah. And it's like, I want my clients to fire me, and maybe do a twice a year refresher or something, right? Just to make sure they're good. But I appreciate you saying this. So how about weaknesses, man? What do you got to share?
Ooh, I'm a stubborn ass. Man, I'll be honest.
Recovering narcissist, right? So it's like, I mean, you can never fully recover, dude.
It's true. And I mean, again, I was a cop at 21. I deployed with the best of the best in the military. I'll throw that toward the SEALs. I deployed with the best of the Army, right? I'm used to being in the realm of the best. Absolutely. I'm used to being around and surrounding myself with the best. So there are times where the narcissism comes in. There's a level of selfishness that I look at, where people want to say selfish is a bad word. I think being selfish with yourself is empowering, and there's so many aspects of that. But when people point to me and say, oh, you're being selfish, I'm like, absolutely I am. And then I get stubborn in that mindset. So I can see how, I'm stuck in my ways in a certain way, but it's all in the betterment of my legacy, my vision I have for my life. And I'm quick to cut ties if it doesn't align in that way, where if you try to take away from that selfishness. I've been really close to being that statistic in the veteran world, the 22 a day. There's a whole story there where I was really damn close to it. And I know what I have to maintain to stay away from that hole that we all hop in as veterans. And it led to being selfish with myself, loving myself again. And there's a huge piece to that.
I mean, even in the dictionary, Zach, it's like selfish isn't a bad word. He doesn't even say anything negative in the dictionary. And basically, it's just like, hey, you take care of yourself, so you put yourself in a position to help others. I mean, it's the whole cliche again of the putting on the oxygen mask in the airplane, right? So you got to take care of yourself. I love it. So have you seen the movie Back to the Future?
Of course.
Okay, let's get in that DeLorean with Marty, man. Let's go back to maybe the 18-year-old Zack. What kind of knowledge nuggets would you drop on him? Not so much to change anything, because your journey is pretty badass, but maybe to shorten the learning curve and blast through just a little bit quicker.
That's a really good question. I think I would have pushed 18-year-old me toward EQ and empathy a lot sooner. I was honestly sent to Dale Carnegie because I was a terrible teammate. I wasn't a great team player. I was top of the stats on my shift at the police department. I was smoking people in the PT side of stuff and the physical fitness side of stuff. And yet I couldn't make SWAT. I kept getting passed over for promotions. And I actually had a captain essentially yank me by the ear one day and say, you know what? You could cut your production in half. But if you smiled once a day in these halls, people would actually like you. And for years, I tell you, for years, I hated that dude for saying that. And then all of a sudden I went through Dale Carnegie, and one of his golden rules is smile. Plain and simple. Just smile, period. And I'm like, okay, hang on. This is bull crap. There's no way this dude was right about anything. And I didn't have the humility to go back and look at it. So if I could drop that nugget, it's like, think about that emotional intelligence. Think about, don't be the ass kisser. I'm never that guy that's like going to be a yes man, but there were better ways to go about my hard-nosed ways in the early days that would have led to a lot more success early on.
Dude, you're a brother from another mother, man. I swear, dude. It's like, it's funny. I make 2 New Year's resolutions every year, man. 1, make someone smile every single day, right? And 2, unless I've hurt you, disrespected you in any way, I give 0 fucks about what you think about it. None. 0. As long as I am putting out the service, right? I love to, give until it hurts so good, right? But I'm gonna get mine on the back end, but just smiling is something with me. I had the same thing. It was a chief petty officer like, Fergie, quit being so fucking serious, dude. Just smile, bro. It's good. You're how tall are you? I'm 70 or I'm 6'1". He's like, well, so you're 73 inches above ground, dude. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, oh yeah, dude. So I love that. So how do you want your dash remembered then? That little line in between your incarnation date and your expiration date, your life date and death date. How do you want your dash remembered, Zack?
A big piece of what I talk about, Simon Sinek's book, Start With Why, was a great one I read early on that led me toward thinking beyond just the police department and local level. But I've shifted that mindset toward ending with why. What's your legacy? What are you working toward in the end? And every piece of the business stuff that I'm working on now leads back into the domestic violence awareness nonprofit, Surviving to Thriving. We teach women self-defense, everything from mindset to padded combatives. Essentially, we teach Krav Maga and padded suits. So everything is really enterprise level, feeding back into that. The dance competition tagline was dancing to defeat domestic violence, where we've got domestic violence awareness into 160 countries across the world now.
That's awesome.
The legacy piece, the dash for me is being the guy that beats up the bullies, man. Helping those that can't help themselves. And for a long time, it was can't or won't. And that won't is a very toxic piece that my therapist helped me correct. Because, you can lead the horse to water, but if they don't want to drink, that's on them. I took it way too personal. So now it's really focused on those that really want the help, that are ready to take action. They just don't know how quite yet.
Yeah, dude, that's huge heart. So what, if anything, keeps you up at night?
Oh, man. I mean, besides the Afghanistan dreams, there's a lot of things, brother. And it's one of those, I do a good job with my morning routine, setting the day with intentionality, meditation, all that stuff. I focus on it, man. But honestly, I've been up since 2:30 this morning. I always get up at 4 to go to the gym, but at 2:30 I woke up and I was thinking about employees, clients, getting payroll met. I mean, it's a stressor we all have attached to different pieces in this world. And it's rarely on myself, which is a balancing piece. Again, being selfish, where I run a mastermind here in Atlanta, and we meet every Friday morning. And I'm like, hey, we're not meeting Friday. I'm heading out of town to take a mindset. I do once a month mindset resets. I'm like, I'm going to go celebrate America and hit a beach somewhere, avoid some fireworks, but hit a beach somewhere. And we're not meeting on Friday. And, I think it's one of those that I have to disconnect like that, right? I have to detach and get away for at least 2 days at a time. And it's a huge piece for me.
Do you do like, my coach has me set intentions every day, and I have my coaching clients too. It's like, you seem like you do things for the intention and not the attention. And I freaking love that, dude. That's awesome. So then what do you think people might misunderstand the most about Zack?
It's funny. I'm an introvert by nature.
Me too, dude. I'm serious, bro.
Brother, I recharge. Like, I legit, like, we were just talking about Podfest. I could have made Podfest this year, but it's like, just thinking the overwhelm attached to it. I already had other stressors. I'm like, I can't, because I know if I go to something like Podfest and it's that big, I need 2 days of recharge when I get back home. Otherwise, I'm snappy and I'm like pissy and taking it out on people around me. So honestly, like, being an introvert, I have to recognize different aspects of myself where if you met me in person, like, you'd never know. I'm the class clown in the group fitness stuff. Like, you would never know. Right. But I think that's the misconception is people think I'm this outgoing, bubbly, fun loving guy. And at the end of the day, like, that's funny. It's flipping the switch. You got it makes you more relatable instead of the guy that's in the corner rocking back and forth like I usually am in a networking event. I find the corner for 10 minutes, but that's the biggest misconception, really. Dude,
I love that you say that, because I'm the same way, man. If you give me my Kindle and a kava bar, like, I love kava as this drink, it really relaxes you, right? And I take a lot of veterans there to show them, hey, you don't have to go to drugs, you can go to a root to help. It's liquid Xanax, it's awesome. But you give me a Kindle and a kava bar by myself in a corner, and I am right at home, bro. Now, I'm a Midwestern dude, and I will go up and hug you, and I meet you and stuff like that, right? And stuff, and be that high energy guy. But so then, Zack, what is your definition of a life well lived?
I think a big piece of it is identifying what is it that makes you happy. And it's not waking up stressed every day. It's not waking up with the business and the success and even the mission, right? There was a long time I had all 6 businesses. We were in the highest point. NBC was offering me 8 figures for the competition, and I turned it down. And it's like, things are going so freaking well. And that entire time I hated myself. Couldn't look myself in the mirror. I literally was hating every single day I was waking up. And again, that was part of that story where I was about to become a statistic. And the big shift for me was like waking up happy every day. Bro, I can't tell you how stoked I am that my feet hit the floor, because the guys that didn't come back from Afghanistan and all the people I know that aren't happy. I'm like, people wake up at 4 a.m. like, I can't believe you do that. I'm like, are you kidding? I'm so excited to get up today. Like, that is like the simplest thing. If we could shift to like just being happy every day. Right. To me, that's like huge.
Yeah, I'm not 4. I'm 4:30. I'm on the jits mat at 6. Like, we have some absolute killers here, and 2 of them are fighting this weekend in Vegas. And it's like, it gets me revved up and fired up just to get out there and get rocking. I absolutely love that, man. So, time to shine today, podcast Varsity Squad. We're back, and Zack, you and I will meet one day. Maybe share a brain grenade or a glass of kava or something, man. And we'll talk about each one of these questions, maybe 15, 20 minutes each one. But you got 5 seconds to answer with no explanations. You ready to rock? They can all be done that way. You're in your hard target situation. Real quick, there's 1 or 2 words. You ready to do it again? Ready to live it? Let's do it. Zack, what's the best leveling up advice you've ever received?
Oh, man. You didn't tell me they were going to be hard questions. Honestly, smile. We talked about it earlier.
Beautiful, smile. Dude. Love it. Share one of your personal habits that contributes to your success. Smile.
Smile. And an intentional morning routine.
Love it, man. So you see me walking down the street or somewhere, you're like, man, Fergie looks like he's in his doldrums a little bit. What book might you hand me?
Love Yourself Like Your Life Depends on It.
Who's that by? It seems like I've read it. Do you remember?
Ramit Kavachan. I can't pronounce his last name, but he was an E4 in the Army, actually.
Love it. Nicknames growing up.
Zacky.
Love it.
Terrible.
Chess, checkers, or Monopoly?
Chess.
Love it. You did mention chess earlier, so I'm happy you said that. So, go-to ice cream flavor.
Half-baked.
Half-baked. Love it. So there's a sandwich called the ZK, or maybe call it the Zacky. What's on that sandwich, man?
All the meats.
A little bacon, little man candy on there too, right?
All of it, man.
You're definitely hanging out, dude. I love it. Love it. Favorite charity and or organization you'd like to give your time or money to?
Vetlanta, local Atlanta. It's a chartered club. But yeah, Vetlanta, huge.
Beautiful. And last question, you can elaborate a little bit on this one, Zach, but what's the best decade of music? 60s, 70s, 80s, or 90s?
Best decade of me. I mean, I was born in the late 80s, brother. So I don't even know. Oh man. I'm gonna not say the 90s for sure. We'll go with the 80s because it's a good blend between the two.
Nice. And I was born in 72, right? So it was like the 80s was I graduated in 1990. So it was like the 80s was my jam. But yeah, so much happened in the 80s, bro. And I got sucked into this Stranger Things thing on Netflix, right? And I'm like, I'm not into sci-fi stuff, but then I watched it and the kids were 12 years old, 1984. I'm like thinking I was born in 72. So everything was like, man,
right in line.
The Pepsi cans, the movie posters, like everything was like, I think it was awesome, man. It was awesome. So Zach, how can we find you, brother?
And you can find me across all social media at Be a Tactical Leader or at Zack A. Knight.
Beautiful. And you have a webinar that's free called Discover Your Voice, correct?
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that.
It's a 5-day challenge that really pushes people toward discovering their voice and using it to impact the world. I do it once a month, usually the first week of every month. It's it's myvoicechallenge.com.
Okay.
But it really is just all about like discovering the power of your own voice and trying to use it to leverage into the business world.
I love it. Hey, Donnie, put that, it's called mychallengevoice.com.
Myvoicechallenge.com.
Myvoicechallenge.com. Put that in the show notes, please. Awesome. And Zach, do me one last solid and leave us with one last knowledge nugget we can take with us, internalize, and take action.
Just remember to smile. It can be that easy.
Dude, that's fantastic. Fantastic. And squad, we literally just had a fun ass masterclass with my brother from another mother, man. Here, Zack Knight. You know, to him, protection of others is paramount, which he did it through the police force. He did it through the military. He hates bullies, man. And he'll put them in their place. He actually seeks out bullies, like a bully hunter. And I absolutely love that. He wants you to expand your horizons and serve on the highest level possible. And in all of his experiences that he went through led him to be really leveled up coach, you know, and the level up coach is someone that is vulnerable with the people they are coaching. You know, he reminds us that a good coach maintains lines of communication and that they're relatable as well. You know, he helps find blind spots through really solid listening, not just with his ears, but with all his senses, you know, and really what I call listening from the neck, like really leaning into the conversation. You know, he digs deep for those pain points so he can put you on a strategy to help you level up. You know, he's someone that's really more interested in hearing your story than he is about telling his. I can see the apprehension as I'm asking these questions sometimes, like, shit, you know, and he really wants to hear your story, you know, and if you're starting to work with a coach, which hopefully it's Zach, you know, show him to ask him to show you his numbers, you know, see his lineage, have him show you the blueprint that's going to help you level up. You know, he reminds us that being selfish is not a bad thing. It's a good thing as long as you're using that selfishness of yourself to help level up and really recognize others. You know, he's so transparent when he recognizes weaknesses that I just see so much of me in him when I was younger. And even today, you know, he wants you to be empathetic, smile, and really strive for the high emotional intelligence. You know, he's planting trees that he's probably never going to sit in the shade of. This dude is just fucking kick ass, man. You know, he's going to slide across home plate of life, bumped and bruised, but knowing that he beat up the bullies and helped those that can't help themselves. And he didn't say won't help themselves. He said can't help themselves. You got to want the help. You want to have level up and get you a Zach. He'll get you there. You know, and he wants you to really strive for that identity that makes you happy and really lean into that happiness and level up your life with that happiness. And last of all, I've already said it before, smile. It's in my daily freaking resolutions to make someone smile every day. And I know Zach made me smile. I know he made you smile as well. He levels up his health. He levels up his wealth. You know, he's earned his varsity squad letter here at Time to Shine today. Thank you so much for coming on, brother. I love your guts.
I appreciate you for having me, Scott.
Chat soon. Bye. Bye now.
Hey, thanks so much for listening to this episode of Time to Shine Today podcast. Proudly brought to you by Sutter and Nugent Real Estate Excellence, who can be reached at 561-249-7266 and online at www.sutterandnugent.com. If you are a business owner or professional who would like to be interviewed on Time to Shine Today, please visit timetoshinetoday.com/guest. If you like this episode, please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you get your podcasts. There's a link in the show notes to our website. Also there, you will see our recommended resources. We hope that you will support our show by supporting them. If you like what you've been listening to, it'd be great if you could just give us a 5-star rating and tell your friends how to subscribe while you're at it. I'm your host, Scott Ferguson, and until next time, let's level up. It's our time to shine.